Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In the last video, we looked at how to plot data to create bar graph like this, from where we get the data from straight from the graph from the sheet that we are working on. But in most cases, we usually have this data from a CSV file or an Excel sheet. Now, let's look at how we can create the same data like this from an Excel sheet. That is, reading it from an Excel sheet like this information from this Excel sheet. We want to plot it into a bar graph. A stacked bar graph. How do we create information like this? So now what we can do is, first of all, we want to convert this information so that it can be presented as a bar graph like this. This is the first stage that we want to look at. How do we do this? Then from there, we want to look at how do we come up to a state where we have a bar graph like this, and to convert this information into a stacked bar graph like this. I have got this Excel file that I have created. So what we can do is to first read this Excel file into Jupyter Notebook. Let's look at how can we do it. Now, let's open our new file. Let's import appropriate libraries. Import pandas as PD. Then import matplotlib dot pyplot as pyt. Now let's import these ones and find out. Now well imported. Now what we want to do first is to import this information, the data that we are having for those 5 countries. So df equals to pd from pandas, pd dot read. Read as what? We can read it as a CSV, we can read it as Excel, and other format that we can have. For this one, we are going to read it as an Excel. Let's take it where we can have this CSV file. Now we have our CSV file already prepared in my computer here. Now we can just check this is the file that I want to import first. Let's check the properties. Then I just copy as these properties. I come to my Jupyter Notebook here, then paste. Right, when we are using Windows, we can just put these double colons, otherwise we cannot read this Excel sheet. Now, the name of the Excel, and including the extension here. We are supposed to include the extension. This is our file. Now let's print this file. And see what it look like. Let's print our DF and see what it look like. Now look, this data is being printed like this. If we try to produce a bar graph from this one it will become complex. So what we want to do is first convert it so that it appears like this information, like this table here, and this table can produce something like this proper bar graph. So now let's try to convert. How do we convert? So we say df dot pivot. We want to use pivot, then we are saying our index is going to be what? This is the index, these countries, this is our index, this country. Then we put our countries here as our index. Now columns are going to be producers, those countries that are producing. These are the producers. This one, let me put them in. Now we look at quantities as our values. Then our values are the quantities in tons. So we end up having something like this. Let's try to print I want to go to the end of this. Now let me try to print what this df is like. So let's assign a variable like plot caps A is equals to this df. Then I can run this one. Now let me just say plot A, then find out what is it look like now. How it look like here now. If I try to produce something like this, let's say print this plot and find out what it's look like now. Now look at this. It's now appear like a proper well formatted information data that can be presented on a chart as this data that we have here, so that we can produce something that can be a multiple bar graph here. Now what we can do, we can now go on to our Jupyter notebook and try to print and try to come up with a bar graph using the information that we have. Now what we can do is we can now say plot the information that we have. We are saying plot. Now the kind of bar graph that we are going to have is kind is equals to bar. We are going to have a bar graph here. Now we can just choose the fig size so that it can be a bit bigger, so that it can easily fig size equals to, let's say 10, 6. let's just try to print this. Then pyt, the alias name, format plotlib pyt.plot .show. Now let's print and find out. Now this is the graph that is being produced after using the pivot methods to convert that data into a proper bar graph. Let's add some other stylish so that our graph will appear nice and good. Let's just choose a certain color here. I want to bring in colors here, red, green, then I want to use another color here. For those who didn't look in the previous videos, please look for this. Will not make sense for you. So these are the colors. This is the column of colors. So I want black, then I want white, and see what. So here I can bring in a column for color is now equal to my what? I think we discussed this one in our last lecture. Look, I changed the colors. The white color is not seen, not right. What we can do, let's say, all right, let's say line width is equal to 1, then edge color equal to blue. I like this blue color to edge color. Now let's try to run again. Let's change my font size so that it can be a bit fit properly. Let's look at this now. My white color is appearing here. Now let me also add here. Let me just try to drop this one down so that it can be clear. Now let me bring in some style. Did I import matplotlib? Yes. So what I can do, I can also say pyt the style, use we discussed this in the previous video 5. This is a style 38. This is a style 538. Now let me run again. Not yet applied. Let me run again. Usually it takes some time. 538 pyt.530, use pyt.538. Now it's being applied. Now look, everything appear properly well with those lines there. Let me add another x, the y, pyt dot title. Let's add title here. Same world greatest producers. Now let's add another y label. py2.y label. Let's add this label here so that we can have our vertical there. Quantity produced. Let's see what is going to happen. Is saying an error is coming. Error is coming. Don't know where is the error. There was an error here. Title was wrongly spelled. Let me find out. Now look, this is how we can come up with a graph like this. Now we can just make it stacked if we so wish, but what is very important was how to convert this information into a proper table that can be well represented on a graph. Because if we try to present it using this Excel sheet that we used, we were not able to produce a proper graph information in this. When we try to open and use it to come up with a graph like this, it won't produce a proper graph. This is what was the most important. Look, we were supposed to produce a graph like this, which is not the proper way that we want to represent it. Now, that is what is very important. So, let's look at what we have learned so far when we were using this graph, how to read data from Excel sheet. We use pd.read Excel. If it's a CSV, we say a CSV file, then we have our information on our Jupyter notebook or any other method that we want to use, a Jupyter notebook or any other method. Then we can plot this information by converting this information by using pivot. Then we choose the index, the ones that you want to use as columns, and the values that you can want to use so that it can appear proper. Now this is how we can do. Now after that, you can add your stylish so that the graph can appear nice. This is what you can do. You can also add stacked if you so wish. Let's just add stacked equals to true. Let's run and see. Now look at it. It's now stacked. We can say width is equals to, by default it's 0.8. Let's just change it to appear nice. It's 0.5. Yeah, 0.5, and see, look, it appear a bit changed. I want it to be 0.5. Now look, this is the graph that we have end up having with these labels: the producers gas, gold, maize, oil, rice, and the corresponding countries. We have our own our countries here, the quantity produced, something like that. This is how we can plot a graph and convert it using pivot. Thank you so much for viewing. Don't forget to subscribe.